What does it take to close a 40-point deficit in Formula One? At the Austrian Grand Prix, George Russell delivered a performance that reminds everyone why he remains one of the grid's most dangerous competitors. From Friday's first lap to Sunday's final corner, the Mercedes driver showed the exact qualities needed to mount a championship challenge. And in doing so, he sent a powerful message to his teammate Kimi Antonelli that this title race is far from over. Russell's weekend unfolded with surgical precision. On Saturday, during qualifying, the Briton produced a masterclass in extracting pace from the Mercedes machine. He claimed pole position with a brilliant lap that demonstrated his technical mastery and racecraft awareness, the hallmarks of a driver hungry to prove himself on the season's biggest stages. The opening lap told the story. Russell held his line through turn 1, controlled the early rhythm, and established the tempo that would define the entire afternoon. By lap 5, he had built sufficient breathing room to manage the race on his terms, exactly what a pole sitter needs to do. Oscar Piastri joined Russell on the podium to round out the top 3, but it was Russell's performance that captured attention. He didn't just win the race, he controlled it from start to finish, accumulating the full 25-point haul. Russell's words after the checkered flag revealed a driver rediscovering his winning form. His satisfaction wasn't just about the trophy on the podium, it was about the statement it made to the championship standings. That breakthrough matters for confidence, for momentum, and for psychological advantage heading into the season's second half. Off the track, Claire Williams, the former Williams team principal who managed Russell during his early career in Formula One, offered her assessment of the emerging battle between Russell and Antonelli. Williams worked closely with the Mercedes driver when he was still a junior with the Grove-based operation, guiding him through critical development periods before he eventually earned his factory seat in 2022. According to Williams, Russell possesses the mental fortitude and tactical intelligence to win what she described as a psychological battle against his younger teammate. She expressed confidence that Russell's experience, combined with performances like Austria, could swing the championship tide completely in his favour. Russell's path to this victory wasn't without complications earlier in the season. The 2026 campaign had presented challenges that tested his resilience and adaptability. Melbourne opened his account with a win, but then came a drought of victories that lasted several months. For a driver of Russell's caliber, that gap represents more than just bad luck or bad strategy calls. It highlights questions about pace, setup optimization, and whether Mercedes had finally found the right balance on their car. Heading into Austria, Russell carried that weight on his shoulders. The team had worked intensively on setup refinements, exploring different aerodynamic configurations and suspension choices to extract more performance. By the time he arrived at the Red Bull Ring, Russell felt the machinery beneath him responding more predictably. Pole position transformed his weekend entirely. It eliminated the variables that had troubled him previously. Now, he wasn't fighting the car was working for him. The mathematics of the championship are now unmistakably in motion. Antonelli, the young prodigy, carried a commanding 40-point advantage into Austria. That's a substantial cushion over half a season remaining, but in modern Formula One, where single victories can swing momentum and confidence, 40 points represents an entirely different proposition than it did before Russell took the checkered flag. Chipping away 7 points at a time might feel slow, but it represents the difference between a dominant performance and a vulnerable one. Russell's breakthrough changes the narrative around Antonelli. He is no longer an unassailable leader. He is a young driver facing genuine pressure from a more experienced rival who just demonstrated his capacity to execute under adversity. Looking at the broader grid, Mercedes themselves gain renewed hope. The team had spent months developing their 2026 platform, and this Austrian result validates those efforts. If Russell can find this form consistently, if he can string together performances that keep chipping away at Antonelli's advantage, Mercedes transforms from a supporting cast member in the championship story into an active protagonist. Max Verstappen's second-place finish highlights the current state of his own championship hopes. Red Bull remains in the title conversation, but results like Austria indicate his team hasn't yet closed the gap to either Mercedes or McLaren. For Mercedes, as an organisation, this result demands honest assessment. The car clearly possesses potential. Russell's pole and victory proved that conclusively, but consistency remains elusive. The team must now identify whether Austria represented a genuine step forward or a one-off performance achieved through favourable circumstances. If it's the former, then Mercedes have cracked an important code. If it's the latter, then the work intensifies. Antonelli, too, faces an inflection point in his championship journey. He began the season with the advantage of a superior car and Mercedes' full support behind his title ambitions. But championships aren't decided in May or June. They're decided over the full 23 races. Russell's victory reminds Antonelli that he must remain sharp, must continue delivering when opportunities arise, and must recognise that any slip-up could compound into larger deficits down the line. Can George Russell's Austrian breakthrough prove to be the turning point in his battle for the championship? As the season continues and more races unfold, this victory might look back as the moment everything shifted. Or it might stand as a solitary highlight in what becomes Antonelli's triumphant campaign. The answer will only emerge as the story develops. What's your prediction for the title fight ahead? Do you believe Russell's experience will prove decisive against Antonelli's youth and machinery? Or will the younger driver's momentum ultimately prevail? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And once you're done, click on the video on your screen right now.